If your home has burned down in the Palisades or the Eden fires, I am speaking with an insurance advisor from the Mark Newman Kuzel Agency who's going to discuss how to file a claim, what to expect, and things moving forward with insurance here in the Los Angeles area. There's a lot of really good resources that you can use in the description down below, so please do that. And also, if you've not been affected by this fire, please consider doing a financial donation to any of the nonprofits that are helping the victims or the first responders. But here's the interview with Mark Newman Kuzel. Hey, Mark, I am really, really glad to talk to you today because I know there's a lot of people that are really struggling after all the wildfires that just happened, that are still happening actually in the Palisades and in the Eden fire. So I wanted to talk to you about how to make things a little bit easier for people who need to file claims and things that they need to be aware of that they just might not have been aware of. So thank you so much for talking to me today.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Philippe. And
I'm
before we begin, I just want to send out my heartfelt wishes to all the victims, members of our personal client family and beyond, who have been affected by these tragedies. It's unheard of, it's horrific, but as Los Angeles Strong, we will get through this.
It's really heartening to see how the community has come together, how many donations people have done. Everyone's posting links about resources. In fact, there's going to be a bunch of lists of links in the resource section of this comment. So, like, if people want to reference any of the things that we're talking about, we're going to put all those links down in the description down below. But I want to just jump in and get right to the point. What is the first thing a homeowner needs to do in order to file a claim for their property?
Yeah, well, a homeowner, a landlord, policyholder, and even a renter. The first thing you want to do after you are out of harm's way and you're safe is to file a claim. You'll refer to the emergency number in your policy back of your claim. And in my particular case, all the welcome emails that my clients have received with claims information. At that point, you'll file a claim with the person who answers the phone. It will then be assigned to a claims adjuster who will reach out to you personally to take all your information, probably what you had already provided in the initial call. And the normal process is 24 to 48 working hours. However, with the large influx of thousands of policies being filed, sometimes this can take a few more days, which is frustrating, but it will happen.
And how soon should a homeowner contact the insurance agency once something has happened?
Well, you want to contact your insurance advisor, such as myself, immediately if you think a claim is to be filed, but you're not sure. That's what my clients hire me for. You can also call the 800 number that's on your policy back immediately to file a claim. Now, in addition to the insurance claim you file, there's information on my website that you can also access. FEMA will help provide funds outside of the insurance claim. It's first come, first serve. So you do want to go to FEMA ASAP.
Okay, so a homeowner is filed for a claim and they're going to get assigned a claim adjuster. What does that process look like with a claims adjuster?
Yeah, the claims adjuster, the claims representative, pretty much the same person. What's going to happen is he or she will call you. They're going to review all the facts that you presented when you made your initial claim. We are going to set up a time to come out, if possible, if it is accessible, to assess the damage and destruction. At the same time, many of my clients are having their own personal contractor come out as well, so they can talk to the claims adjuster with regard to potential costs to rebuild the home.
So some of these clients are actually bringing contractors to the appointment with the claims adjuster to give them an idea of like what it's going to cost to rebuild.
That is correct, Philippe.
Oh.
As you very well know, most, but not all of my clients are the higher net worth individuals who live in multi-million dollar homes that are hard to insure. So they fortunately have access to other outside vendors for such. In addition to the claims process, the claims adjuster, there's going to be remediation if the home hasn't been completely destroyed, specifically smoke damage. We're going to have a remediator come in and ascertain what damages are done, what can be done, what cannot be done, and that's all part of the claims process. I have certain remediation experts that I work with that are approved by most all insurers in California, and happy to share that information individually with your viewers.
Okay, so we can put that in the link down below, or we can reference your website. I think you have a website that has a lot of references or resources as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The mnkagency.com. So the mnkagency.com is a great go-to. It's up to date. There's information there referring to FEMA, the claims process, resources for humans, shelters where they can be located, large animals, small animals. There's also information on there to beware of people posing as claims adjusters or firefighters. So we want to make sure people have their guard up now. Unfortunately, there are not good people out there who are taking advantage of victims, looters.
So that brings up another point. Like, what if they can't go back to their house? Like, what kind of coverage does some of these insurance policies cover for rentals or if they're displaced from their house?
Well, another great question. So there are coverages in your policy as a homeowner, a landlord, or a renter, and it's called loss of use coverages. What loss of use coverages are to provide you with offsite cost of living expenses, any meals you incurred, clothing, the roof over your head. If you have to stay in a hotel for X amount of time, a hotel, a condo, an apartment, are you going to go down to San Diego, out to La Quinta? These are going to help pay that because you are going to still have a mortgage if you're not an all cash buyer and you still have to pay your mortgage. Now, I understand there are programs out there to pause the mortgages. I'm not versed in those, but if you are to continue to have to pay your rent, your mortgage, this gives you money so you're not paying double mortgage, double rent. Again, it's called loss of use.
Okay. And then going back to the fraud thing. So how do people know that they're not being scammed? Like what should they look for in terms of identification, or how does somebody identify as a proper claims adjuster or a proper insurance advisor?
Well, when you have a claims representative assigned to you, you are going to have the name and number of that person prior to they showing up, and they should have identification with them. The same with any public official, a police officer, a firefighter, anyone else. They should be presenting you with identification.
And going back to the another thing about fraud is in the California during a state of emergency, you can't. It's illegal to price gouge more than 10% on rent or supplies. So that's if you see that, you can call 311 and notify the authorities of any price gouging that is happening right now. And I'm seeing it a lot. Like we're seeing rentals going up dramatically in unaffected areas, and it's totally gross to me. But if you see it, call 311. It's unacceptable. So as you know, Mark, there's so many insurance companies that have left California altogether. Are people going to be able to get insurance after an event like this?
Yes, they will, but chances are, Philippe, most of the carriers who are going to help these people are non-admitted surplus lines carriers versus an admitted carrier. For those who need a definition of what admitted and not admitted is, think of it as if you're putting money in the bank, it's guaranteed by the FDIC. If you have a Bitcoin investment, the FDIC is not guaranteeing that. In the case of admitted versus non-admitted carriers, the Department of Insurance here in California guarantees claims payouts for admitted lines carriers like Farmers Insurance, for instance. Now, non-admitted carriers, which are Knight Insurance, Hamilton, Lloyd's, many others, they're willing to write at greater extent than the admitted carriers because they do not fall under the auspices of the California Department of Insurance, meaning they can charge as much as they want to. So they are guaranteeing profitability. They do have money in the bank to pay the claims because they have charged premiums associated with such. If you look up in the hills, several of the multi-million-dollar properties, those are all insured with non-admitted carriers because admitted carriers don't want to touch those with a 10-foot pole.
But if they're non-admitted carriers and they charge a premium, there's no minimum requirement for their reserves in order to be able to pay those claims? Or is
No,
there?
they're AM rated companies and they're rated the same way as admitted carriers. One of the companies that I work with quite a bit is an A-minus rated company. They have over $3.2 billion in the bank, which is much more than the California Fair Plan has in their reserves right now. The California Fair Plan has many billions of dollars worth of insurable assets and less than $1 billion in assets, which is why the California Fair Plan is the insurer of last resort. They will have enough money to pay for all the claims because they are going to look at the reinsurance market for such. But whenever I have the opportunity, I try to steer people away from the California Fair Plan for this very reason. Plus, the California Fair Plan is now going to be massively inundated with client calls and claims. Where you have a private non-admitted carrier, they're better staffed to handle situations like this.
So the California Fair Plan, I assume, is much cheaper than these non-admitted carriers, but the risk is there might not be enough money to pay out all of the claims, especially with something this substantial.
Well, there is that concern, but they are being quoted multiple times over in the news. I was on a webinar with the CFP, California Fair Plan, 2 days ago. They're guaranteeing they will have the monies to pay out. But one of the many problems with the California Fair Plan is their maximum TIV, total insured value, is $3 million. So if you have a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home that you need to insure for at least $600 to $700 a square foot, plus you have your personal property loss of use and many other coverages, you can see, you can do the math, and you're way over $3 million in coverages. So the Fair Plan's not going to help you at all. The Fair Plan's going to help a home like 1,500 square feet, more in the flats, and it's going to have the $3 million available.
Okay, so let's say you do own a home, you filed a claim. What happens with your current insurance? Like, can you renew that policy, or are they going to drop you as soon as you file a claim?
So what's going to happen there is, as you saw last week, the insurance commissioner put a moratorium on non-renewals and cancel of policies for a year. So no one can be canceled or non-renewed for a year as we, the insurance industry, figure things out. However, there is a moratorium in place right now on writing new insurance. So depending on the fire score, the fire line mapping we're using, it is a case by case, zip code by zip code process at this point. But for the most part, most insurers do have a moratorium. Thankfully, because I've been doing this for so long and I do business with the right people, some of them are writing despite the moratorium.
Hmm. That's kind of crazy. So if you're in escrow right now and there's a moratorium, you might not be able to close on your property until that's lifted.
That is correct. And you might want to address everyone here with regard to the recent NARA rulings with regard to having contingencies listed or not lifted until you have the insurance in hand.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, you do have in the contract typically 17 days to get your insurance settled. So if you're in escrow right now, or if you're thinking about buying a property, it's a really, really good idea to talk to an insurance advisor like Mark, who can go over the options for the policy and go over all the coverages that you might want to get, including earthquake insurance, because we have a ton of natural disasters here, and you can guide them on what policies work best for that specific property and their situation, right?
Yeah, that great comment there. There's a few points I'd like to bring up here. If you are thinking of making an offer on your home, have your realtor reach out to me immediately so I can run the numbers and we can let you know what the insurability of that property is and what you can budget for what the cost is going to be. If you don't have an all cash offer and you are required to have insurance, you do not want to go through your lender. The lender is only interested in having coverages to protect the actual dwelling. They're not going to provide you with loss of use or personal property coverages. They don't care about that. They care about the financial investment of that property. Now, you had also brought up earthquakes. And many people thought, oh, well, what's happening right now will never happen to them. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is happening to them. there is going to be a big earthquake. We've had rumblings over the past year. We've had minor earthquakes, but nothing major. I encourage everyone listening to buy an earthquake policy. You cannot expect on the government to provide government handouts because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and if there is a big earthquake and you don't have earthquake insurance and it ruins your foundation, your regular homeowner's insurance does not cover that. Correct?
That is absolutely correct. You have to have earthquake insurance.
Okay, so moving forward, buyers, if you are looking to buy a property, talk to your insurance advisor to get the full scope of your insurance because it's going to be probably your biggest asset that you have in your life. You want to make sure it's completely insured and you want to know what the coverage is going to be included. And if you're a seller, make sure that you are working with a really good insurance advisor who can make sure that your policies are up to date. They can go over the coverage amounts. They can up your insurance if you need to up it. They will be able to give you the best possible advice moving forward on your homeowner's insurance because I'm sure so many homeowners are looking at their insurance policies after this.
That is absolutely correct. We at the Mark Newman Kuzel Agency are always encouraging our clients to conduct their annual policy review so we can sit down and go through the coverages. I'm receiving phone calls now from people who have ignored my requests, my pleas to do this for several years, and they're finding out their homes are vastly underinsured. Thankfully, the clients that have unfortunately lost their homes are clients who have adhered my advice, my agency's advice, and we have sat down with them and gone over their coverages. So they are solid. And for those of you who are outside my personal client family, please give your insurance advisor a call and schedule a review. Or you can give my agency a call. We're happy to look at your declarations page ourselves and let you know what the shortcomings are, if any.
Well, Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. I know there's a lot of people who are truly devastated after all these fires. So any information that we can provide to them is really grateful. So I appreciate you very much.
My pleasure. Absolutely. All of you stay safe, stay strong, and bleed blue.